Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We are in episode 2 of how to increase energy expenditure. Still on the topic of resistance training. We'll get to cardio and all that good stuff, but we left off emphasizing how important it is to still push for strength while you are losing body fat. You want to make sure that training stimulus is still there, but there is no doubt that a higher intensity, and back in the good old days, Adam, people would talk about supersetting and giant sets and high intensity and almost just kind of a no rest interval type situation in the gym. And not that that's going to necessarily burn body fat, kind of like sit-ups and crunches would reduce body fat around your midsection. We know that's not true, but it certainly does increase calorie usage. When your heart rate is incredibly high, you're using a lot of muscle tissue, you can literally more than double the amount of calories and therefore body fat you are using. So how do you like to incorporate some high intensity work while people are in prep?
Yeah, typically what I do is I'll start off heavy with their workouts, and then you're only going to have so much strength for so long, and then that's going to decline. And that's typically where I might throw in a superset, a giant set, or something to really push them on an intensity level. I always like this challenge because let's say if I have a male doing leg extensions and then lunges immediately after back to a set of leg press, he probably has no idea how much weight he can use for a leg press after doing extensions and lunges. So it's a good way to challenge your clients. It's a good way to keep them moving. I find doing stuff like that keeps them less PR focused, especially with men, because they just want to go in and do as much weight as possible. So if you throw in something like a tricep like that, leg extension, lunges, leg press, he's going to be willing to go a little lighter to push himself and just more so keep the heart rate up, keep the intensity in a good spot. And that won't drain him mentally when he finds out, his strength's a little bit lower than it was in the off season.
Yeah, one of the things that I think people misunderstand is that the amount of time in the gym is not quite as important as maybe the amount of times you go to the gym. Because as you said, you're going to run out of strength. You're going to hit the end of that workout in a calorie deficit and just need to be done. A lot of the research showing increases in cortisol, decreases in growth hormone and all that have been challenged, I would say, but I don't think necessarily disproven. And so even though we're looking at total work volume in a week and recovery principles, as we described in episode 1, there's still some value to just high intensity training, even for more than body fat loss. It's that stimulation of hypertrophy that can be important. And when I say high intensity, it doesn't necessarily mean lightweight. It just means really digging deep into how far can you push yourself with those supersets and giant sets, as you described. And when you look at things like CrossFit and functional training, you can see the amount of energy use. When you're looking at MET, and the exact amount of oxygen you're using per unit of time, it's absolutely true that you can get to 600, 800, maybe 1,000 calories an hour when you're staying that intense versus maybe just 200 to 400 calories an hour of doing a set and then resting, doing a set and resting for a couple minutes. So there's got to be some times, I think, in everybody's training, even in the off season, when you're just focused on that intensity for not just calorie use, but the overall goal of body building.
Absolutely. I see this with guys all the time in the off season. They'll want to not do any cardio at all, and they rest forever long between sets, almost like a power lifter. Not saying that's wrong, but a lot of times I see with these athletes when they're doing their heavy lifting, let's say they're doing a 5x5 squat, well, they're already breathing hard by reps 3 and 4. So how efficient are they on getting that 5th rep? So if their cardiovascular system's a little bit better, their strength is going to be better too. So you definitely want some intensity, some things to challenge you cardiovascularly while you're designing your training programming in all phases of, on and off season.
And I would just close with this challenge, guys, in describing intensity for the express purpose of increasing energy expenditure. Just take your normal session and try and increase a little functional activity, just 1 or 2 workouts a week, and see what that does for your bottom line fat loss for the week. And I mean, maybe you do a giant set like Adam just described, leg extensions into lunges, but then what about 10 burpees in between, or 50 jumping jacks, or even just not even a full burpee, but just kind of a drop plank out 10 times, and then move right into the next set where you keep your heart rate higher. I don't think you're going to see that impedes your recovery, but you're going to see an extra 400, 500, maybe 1,000 calories a week when you're doing that. And you add that up over the course of a contest prep, and maybe you lost an extra 5 pounds of body fat just by adding those extra sets on your high intensity day. So keep that in mind. And Adam and I are going to turn to the topic of cardiovascular work in our next episode.